Cautions, chaos, and restarts, and at the end of it, Joey Logano reigns supreme, so let's get into it. Coming up next. What's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing good today. All right, Joey Logano at the end of this caution-filled, restart-filled event gets the win, and he did it in impressive fashion, even though it was a bunch of restarts. At the end, he was the better restarter of these situations, and when it comes down to moments like this, you want a guy who can restart like this. It is his 37th win on his career. A career that is 17 years in the making, and he is still only 34 years old, even though it's only going to be for a couple of more weeks because his birthday is the 24th. But just think about when he came into Cup, he was that young guy, that 18-year-old kid. It doesn't seem like it's been 17 years, but he's creeping up on 20 years, and he'll be at the 20-year mark before he's in his 40s. So that's just going to be a crazy career for Joey Logano. Gets the win here today and locks himself into the playoffs. Also moves him ahead of former teammate Brad Keselowski, and it ties him with Bobby Isaac, but that is not the only person on the list of all-time winners that he is near right now, as you see from this infographic at NBC Sports. Matt Kenseth at 39, next on that list, also Tim Flock in the 39 realm. Then Mark Martin with 40 wins, 44 for Elliott, 46 Buck Baker, and 48 for Herb Thomas. So he was the winner, and I mentioned that he had to out-restart people, but it wasn't just a bunch of has-beens or, scrubs or anything that he had to restart. Kyle Larson was up there, got a poor restart, the second or third caution from the end. Got into the to the marbles or whatever or something like that. Just wasn't able to really recover after that. His car did look good out there with clean air. It looked like it would have been interesting had this gone to a long run car. It looked like Reddick and Blaney, who also was up there for some of those restarts, but couldn't fire off as good as his Penske teammate in the 22 could. So it was just an interesting dynamic toward the end of the race. The guys that were really good with short run speed, or the guys that are really good at restarts, a la the man who finished in second place here, which we're going to get to in just a minute, seemed to take advantage of these cautions at the very end of the race that sort of jumbled this field up. Speaking of which, let's look at that top 10. Joey Logano, your winner, as mentioned, and I said the second place man, really good at restarts, one of the best in the business at restarts. Ross Chastain goes from sort of an average day, didn't have a whole lot going on, methodically working his way through the field, but then in the end, he was going like gangbusters, finishes in second place in the Tootsie's Orchid Lounge Chevrolet for Trackhouse. Ryan Blaney ends up in third place, Kyle Larson recovers to fourth place, and Eric Jones here in fifth place. Want to talk about him for a minute because he had a great race going here. If it wasn't for some pit road penalties, Eric Jones might have been, he was in fifth place, so he technically was in contention for the win. But if it hadn't been for those penalties, who knows if Eric Jones would have been up there at the front of this thing and maybe second or third contending for the win here, because he had tons of speed today. What an absolute turnaround this season has been for Legacy, although to be fair, it couldn't have gotten much worse from last season. But let's continue with the top 10. Just wanted to give Eric Jones a shout out there because heck of a race. If it hadn't been for those penalties, who knows? Ricky Stenhouse Jr. bringing it home in sixth place in the Sunny D Chevy for Hayek Racing. Austin Dillon out of nowhere. A classic Justin Alexander Austin Dillon special. Out of nowhere gets the seventh place finish in the Bass Pro Shops Winchester Chevrolet for RCR. A Legacy teammate, John Hunter Nemechek, so double top 10 for Legacy Motor Club. John Hunter Nemechek finishing in 8th place there, stops the bleeding after a pretty quick start to the season, had a run of bad races. He gets back in the groove here with the 8th place finish. Christopher Bell, been good all season, so no surprise here that he's in the top 10. Then Daniel Suarez needed a good run, got a good run. Double Trackhouse top 10 as well. Then 11 through 15 going to be Todd Gilliland. Todd Gilliland involved in a few incidents, but was able to persevere and get to 11th place. Ty Dillon in 12th place. Good run for him. Continues his impressive run since joining Colleague. And Colleague looks like they're doing a little bit better than they did last season, at least speed-wise. Not necessarily all the finishes they want for him. William Byron here in 13th and Riley Herbst 14th. Both of those guys had crash damage, so you're starting to get to guys who had crash damage here. And if I told you that Justin Haley was going to be the highest finisher of the Spire gang during this race. Before this race, a lot of people would have told me I was crazy, but it does end up like this at the end of the race because Carson Hocevar ends up getting in a wreck. He pushed up and collected Ryan Preece. Ryan Preece not happy about that, had some unkind words to say about that, maybe for another video. But yeah, wasn't happy with Hocevar. That took out Hocevar. Michael McDowell, somebody who I've not talked about just yet, but I want to give him a shout out here, even though it's going to be sort of not the best light. He absolutely went for it there at the very end with that two-tire strategy, and it was an absolutely valiant effort. Did everything he could to win this race, and I got to give kudos to him because I like drivers that do what they can, do whatever they can to try to win races. So even though it didn't work out for him, even though he piled it into the fence, he was going for the win. He was not going to settle for second place. Didn't work out for him, but that being said, he did finish back there where he finished, and Justin Haley ends up being the highest finisher for Spire. Speaking of drivers that went for it, let's look at the bad race. And though 20th place, not necessarily the worst thing in the world, it is the worst thing in the world if you're Kyle Busch and you were out there trying to make the pass for second place and ended up losing control of the car, backing it into the wall. But once again, I'd rather have a driver going for it than a guy that's just going to settle for a third or second place. Tyler Reddick also had race-winning speed. Had that tire cut down toward the end of the race, ends up in 21st place here. Shane Van Gisbergen, just not a great rookie campaign, not a great race here at Texas. What more can you say? Ty Gibbs, another guy that looked like he had a good car early on, faded. We already mentioned Carson Hocevar here in 24th. So there you go. All those guys right there, guys that were at one point at least contending to go for the lead or were leaders of the race. Austin Cindric led parts of this race as well. There you see Michael McDowell ended up in 26th after his efforts. Chase Briscoe also got involved in a wreck. Brad Keselowski wrecks himself out. Terrible start to the season for Brad Keselowski. Still yet to have a top 10, and this was one of the stronger tracks for him. RFK teammate Ryan Preece down here in the mix as well. I think their highest finishing car was like 17th or 18th with Chris Buescher, so not a good day for RFK. But then I want to jump down here to 32nd place where you see Josh Berry, who also had race-winning speed, and it was very similar to what several drivers, including Kyle Busch, it looked almost exactly identical to what Kyle Busch did. When the tires were cold or whatever, just whenever you got to that high groove and you went over those bumps, it just unloads this car. This car doesn't handle bumps or whatever so well, and he just backed it into the wall, leading the race, trying to pass a lapped car, a Ford teammate at that. So bad race for him, and just so much attrition and so many guys that persevered. It was a really strange race from that perspective. More heavy hitters here toward the bottom. You see Bubba Wallace in 33rd, Noah Gragson, Alex Bowman, AJ Allmendinger, Chad Fincham, and then Denny Hamlin with the erupting motor, ruining his 1.5 mile finishing in the top 10 or whatever streak that he had going on, ends up being dead last. So there you go. That was the good race and the bad race. Now let's take a look at the points. Fast Willie B. William Byron continues to be your leader. He is now only 13 points, however, above Kyle Larson. Denny Hamlin, despite the engine trouble, is now in third place, but alas, it is minus 83. Also at minus 83 is Chase Elliott, but tiebreaker will go to Hamlin because of the wins. Tyler Reddick is in fifth. Christopher Bell, Ryan Blaney, and Bubba Wallace round out your top 8 in the points. 9 through 16 going to be Joey Logano, Alex Bowman, Ross Chastain, Chris Buescher, Chase Briscoe, Austin Cindric, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and Kyle Busch, technically in 16th, but because Josh Berry has won a race, and you see Josh Berry here in 24th place in points, he would replace Kyle Busch. So Kyle Busch, technically right now, the first man on the outside looking in. Behind him, Carson Hocevar, Ryan Preece, AJ Allmendinger, Michael McDowell, and teammate to Kyle Busch, Austin Dillon. And I asked the poll question on the live stream, was this a good race or whatever? Everybody seemed to say it was a good race, and I think what happened is you see a lot of drivers complaining about the track. Obviously, the track was sketchy and hard for the drivers to drive, but I think the fans actually enjoyed it, actually appreciated that you had to really wheel these cars to keep them under control. So I think a lot of the fans really did appreciate the effort that the drivers had to put in this race to just really keep the car under control. So I think if you're looking at it from a fan's perspective, you like the race. I know Ryan Blaney said he doesn't like the track. It's too loose or whatever. Whatever Ryan Blaney said, I remember it was spicy. I just can't remember what he said off the top of my head. Sometimes when you're scrolling through, you forget to take a picture so you can say exactly what he said. But all right, that's all I got for you on this Monday. Hope the rest of your Monday is good. And jumping into Tuesday, hope that's a good one as well. But yeah, that's all I got. Until the next one. Peace.